another episode of Infamously Speaking. I got 2 ahead of myself right there. I'm excited. I got my guy Quan here. He's back in good health, it seems.
Great
Having
health.
a drink, smoking cigars, top villain
Yep.
blanket in the background.
Yes,
He's
sir.
ready to be on his bullshit this episode. But before we jump into things too much, first and foremost, thank you guys for the support on the previous episodes. If you're not already subscribed to the Infamously Speaking podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, please go ahead and do that. Helps the show grow, helps the show get to more people so they can go and enjoy just like you do. If you're on YouTube, leave it a like, leave some comments. Let's get the conversation rolling there. And of course, always spread love and spread positivity.
Click the like button, click the subscribe button. Like, it's not difficult. Let's be a little realistic here. Like,
yeah, no need to be stingy.
Yeah, like, come on, show some love. We show mad love. We shout you out. We send out gifts. It's been a while since we did that, but we do that. Yeah, if you could follow that fucking stupid page that you're following just because, and you're getting these stupid updates that means nothing, you can do that to, either be entertained, which I'm sure you'll be entertained if you listen in. So I was recently like visiting different stores and seeing different people, and somebody had asked what my ethnicity was. So I was like, I grew up Filipino, or identifying as Filipino, only to realize that I was actually more Vietnamese. And the point of that is because the person I was talking to, she was like, "Yeah, I went to Vietnam for 2 weeks and it was a good time, like great street food, like just, happy to share her experience." And she showed me like this picture of like fruit or something. I didn't know what it was. So I sent a picture to my dad, like, "Dad, do you know what this is?" But it's a group text. So it's my dad, it's my 2 sisters, and my brother. So I'm like, he ain't respond. So after like 4 or 5 hours, I'm like, "Dad, do you not know what it is?" Like, he ain't respond. So my sister responded and was like, "Dad's mad at you and Adam because you didn't call him for Chinese New Year's." And I'm like, "Okay, what is he? Is he 12? Like, I'm not mad that he didn't call me for 30 years of my life. Like, what do you mean?"
Oh, jeez.
Now, mind you, he's in this chat, like, so he can see it. I don't want to paraphrase too much, so I'll try and read some of the messages. And the only reason why I'm sharing this story is because to me it's kind of funny. But yeah, it's a pretty good one too. So I was like, I'm not mad that he ain't called for 30 years or whatever the case. And then my sister, so I was like, oh, and the phone works both ways, right? Like, I didn't get a call. If he really wanted to talk, he could have called me. So my brother puts like facts, like with a GIF, and my sister's like, "You guys are so mature." And I was like, "You ever hear that saying that the apple don't fall far from the tree?" So she's like, "Honestly, the men in our family are disappointing." So now that got my attention. Right now, I'm like, okay. So my brother's like, "I'm happy with the man I become." And she's like, you guys are, but you're all resentful and it's unnecessary." But I'm like, how am I resentful? Because I didn't even know there was an issue, right? The only thing maybe because I said the 30-year thing, but I really, it is what it is. It's not like I'm bullshit, and it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm really not affected by it. What I'm saying is, if I was affected by it, then I'd feel some type of way and not even be messaging in the first place, right? So I'm like, so he's mad I didn't call on this holiday that I never grew up celebrating because it wasn't part of my culture growing up. And why wasn't it part of my culture growing up? Because he wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
So I was like, make it make sense. So then I asked him a question about food because I'm curious. And then I'm getting ignored because he's mad. But I don't even know he's mad because he can't communicate that to me. So I'm like, I'm not resentful. I'm far from it. And if I had a grudge, I wouldn't give 2 fucks. Like, I really wouldn't. So now I'm in that, like, you know how I get when I'm like in that debate mode? Like, all right, now I got time.
Gloves are off.
So she's like, bro, that's a grudge. He's in your life now. So I sent her a picture of the definition of grudge, and I'm like, it's really not a grudge because I don't have any ill will and I don't have any resentment. And then, and I was like, he's clearly not in my life now because he's ignoring me because I didn't call him for New Year's. So I was, and then it's mad funny because my brother at that point was just trying to be like a peacemaker. It was like I had a lot of resentment and anger growing up, but I've let a lot of it go after being reconnected with you all, and it was rough and traumatic upbringing. I'm thankful for having a family I never knew I had. And then the funniest shit is he sends a picture of a bowl of pho. And I'm like, this guy is funny as hell. But I hope my sister don't get mad if she hears this or she sees this, because I guess you could say it's kind of personal, but it's really not. Like, people know my story, and my sister texted me and apologized. I think it was yesterday, and it had happened on Saturday. And I told her straight up, like, I'm not mad. Like, I still got love for you. Even in that moment, like, I was in that moment, I was a little taken back to how she was like disappointment and all that. But it goes back to me, which is another funny thing, is because I don't feel like I am, it doesn't bother me, right? I'm not gonna let something. That's like saying someone, "Oh, you're a piece of shit bastard," or some wild shit that just I don't feel relates to me. It's not gonna affect me in a way where I'm like tight or I'm getting mad or I'm just spilling ill things. I had time at that point, and you got my attention, so that's what it is.
Listen, if the shoe don't fit, the shoe don't fit.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
exactly,
If you're only gonna feel some kind of way because you feel like it could apply to you. If you feel like it's
exactly.
not
So
gonna apply to you, then it's like, all right,
my
okay.
brother's like, Quan, you're mad entertaining, and I don't ever see you losing a debate. I'm like, yeah, it's rare,
He
but it
doesn't listen to
happens.
the show then. He don't listen to the show.
No, he listens. He actually enjoyed our last one a lot, and he's getting back
Good.
into tuning in more often. Long to sum it up though, me and my sisters were on good terms. My dad, I
Good.
still ain't talked to. I guess I'll give him a call because it's not like I need to understand. And the funny thing is, my dad always tells me that I'm just like him, and he means that in like a prideful, don't give a fuck kind of way when he tells me usually. So he should already know. And the other thing is, I'm gonna tell him like, if you feel a certain type of way, you can communicate that. Like, you too old to not being able to communicate how you feel, especially towards your your son, right? So, anyways, now back to my mom, and while my mom was getting comfortable with calling me more, so like I talked about last episode, I was excited because I was going to church and I had invited my mom, or I sent it to my mom or whatever, right? So that was yesterday, the event. So between last week and this week, I talked to my mom a little bit, but usually through text about just like going and making sure that I was going. She wanted to see if Noah wanted to go. And I was still excited. I was a little tired because I've been working pretty hard, but um I was excited. It was there's a lot of good things, and there's some things that it just didn't work out quite well. Which is the first thing, right? My mom wants me to meet her and stuff. My mom gets there a little earlier than me. Um, it started at 7. I probably got there like 6:45, and parking was wild. Like, uh, it was in New London. I don't know if you know where, like, kind of like by the courthouse. Like, it's in between the white courthouse and the other courthouse. And I circled the block like 3 times, no parking. I finally parked by Tony D's, which wasn't that far. It was a good walk though in the cold. Uh, my mom's calling me nonstop. She's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm trying to find parking." She's like, "Come to the overflow room." So it was so packed, we had to go in the overflow room, which he's not even in. But they had like a projector, so you can still see because they was streaming it. Um, So it was great to see that there was a lot of people there, right? A lot of people wanting to worship and just get a message and all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. Sat down with my mom, and my mom just keeps saying like these negative things. Like it kind of had like a bad aroma. The bathrooms were kind of close to like this room, so it did have a little bit of a smell, but I couldn't smell too much anyways. But she kept talking about that and this and that, and I'm like, Mom, just enjoy. Like you're complaining too much. Just try and enjoy yourself. So I will say too that it was difficult to hear because in the overflow room they had speakers, but the speakers weren't great. And then there were like 2 rows back, there was a couple little girls that they just didn't understand that it wasn't time to have conversations. So between that, the speakers, and then the the guy that was there, I think his name is Dr. Brown, if I'm not mistaken. Um, he's from South Africa, so he has an accent. So if I'm being honest, I didn't get the message that I went to receive because it was a lot of distractions and difficult to hear. But it still felt good because I know I was in a positive environment, and well, positive other than my mom saying a bunch of negative things to the right of me. But um, you know, I'm happy that I stayed as much. It was over 3 hours too. That was the other thing. Like 3 hours is a long time. And then I was thinking, I was like, we're in the overflow room at 6:45. My mom's probably there like 6:20. So there was people there probably since like 5. And they got was it 10ish? So they're there over 5 hours, bro. But there was a lot of people from like Mass and Rhode Island that had, came to see him. And New London was his 276th city he's been to in the last couple of years because he travels all over the world. But I was happy I went. I was happy I didn't let the parking situation deter me because there was a moment it was like, oh, maybe there's a reason why I can't find parking, but I didn't let that stop me from going and trying at least. And
Yeah,
that's
that's
where we
good.
were.
Yeah, I was actually gonna
Yeah.
ask you about that, how that went, because
Yeah.
you talked about it on our last show. So that's good. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. Like you did it, and that's what's important, obviously. And you just keep building on that. You keep building on it, building on it, building on it, and you're gonna get rewarded for it. So,
Yeah.
um, I will say it's funny because Noah and I we were driving past this church, and I'm not sure if I shared this story on the pod before, but
Not the one with the haircut.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna talk about.
Yeah, talk
So
about that one. You did it. You didn't want to. And I was like, that's a
no,
good
I'm
story.
gonna talk about. I'm not gonna disclose the location of it
Yeah,
or
yeah,
the
yeah.
name of it. So we're driving today because we came back from the airport today. My wife was in San Francisco for a couple of days at a concert, and so we're driving back home. And when I first moved to Washington, um, it'll be almost 2 years ago. I wanted to find a church that I can go in person because still to this day I wake up every Sunday at 6 a.m. to get ready because my church live streams service and it starts at 10 Eastern, so it's 7 a.m. here. But it's good at going to the house of God, right? It's a completely different atmosphere than what it is doing it at home. You still get blessed, but it's nothing like actually going into the building. So I was looking for a church, man, and they always say like you don't know how good you have it until you don't have it anymore. And so the first church I go to is the first Sunday I'm here. I go to this church like 30 minutes away from my house. And I'm not like doing research on stuff like this, right? Like I just go like, oh, here's a church, cool, I'm gonna go. So it's important that I give the detail. Like I didn't grow up in a certain denomination, right? Like there's like Baptist and Jehovah's Witness and
Yeah, yeah.
Methodist and Seventh Day. My church that I went to and still attend virtually is non-denominational. So I go to this church And I walk in and it's like your typical, I guess typical looking church. I mean, I don't really know. It has like the wooden pews, and the back is like this stained glass picture of Mary in the stable.
Okay.
So then I sit down and I get there like 30 minutes before service, because a lot of churches they'll have the people who do music. They'll be practicing, and so you can kind of like sing along, just get yourself in the right mind space, kind of leave everything else that's going on outside and get yourself prepared. People start coming out to you, right? New face, and so everybody's interested. They start flocking to you, right? And they start asking me questions, and some guy starts, telling me about the church, and he says there's some kind of, I don't even know don't want to completely destroy the word, but pretty much he said the denomination of their church is that they really only teach the stuff in the New Testament because you don't really need the Old Testament. And I should have known at that point. I'm like, my first
But
thought that came to
you're optimistic. You're in a new
yeah, but
place.
my
Like,
first thought is like, so then why did God give us the whole Bible if we only need this piece of it? And then this pastor starts talking, and then he calls up the original pastor of the church, the one that built the church, right? He's an older gentleman, and this guy just starts popping off. Like the energy of the first pastor was down here, just mellow, chill. This guy was like going
fired
crazy,
up.
fired up. And then out of nowhere, he's talking about some passage in Revelations, right? And then out of nowhere, he was like, you got to watch out for certain people, right? And he starts talking about like, people that do drugs and criminals and whatever. Okay. And I'm already a little uneasy because I'm like, dang, like now we're judging people, but all right. And then he was like, and you also got to watch out for people that you wouldn't really suspect. He's like, but there's signs. He's like, there's signs of people, that you could tell. And I'm like, oh boy, what signs are they? Out of nowhere, he was like, people that get designs in their hair when they get haircuts. He was like, those people right there. I don't even want to use the word, but I got to use it to complete the story, right? He's like, those people are faggots. And I was like, oh boy. I'm like, there's no
Wow.
way. And so
Wow.
that was disturbing.
Yeah.
But what's even more disturbing is the response from the church. Everybody's like, "Yep, that's right." And I was like, "Oh gosh."
Oh wow.
I'm like, good thing I ain't got no designs in my hair, man, because I would have been public.
I feel like he was throwing a shot at me, Adion, for putting his line.
I
I
mean,
don't know if
maybe
that's considered a design, but that's wild. You know,
wild shit, bro.
that's wild, bro. And you know what it is too is right? You haven't been back, right? Well, I would hope
No,
not. But
no, bro, no.
so it's like, and I know this.
I would hope not.
So I had this conversation with Anian because I got my cut, and I was telling him like it felt good to be in a place of positivity, right? Because you could just feel like the people there wanted to be, happy and all that and worship. And he was just telling his story. I won't tell his story too much, but he has some great points where you get these bad experiences like that, and it's like how can I like believe or have faith when the people that I'm going to see for this is not really, they're judging, right? It's just like you said, they're
Bro.
judging. Like even when like I remember my mom was disappointed one time she went to a church and it was like she had to wear this long skirt and all this other stuff, and it's like, why does that matter? Like, and who are you to judge? It's disappointing. And then I was telling him because I didn't want him to like he wasn't trying to like deter me, but it was like just because that place of practice or whatever they're preaching, that doesn't determine everybody else's, right? It could have been
Yes.
that type of church or whatever have you.
Yes.
And
Yep.
and then he had another good point, which I understand is like, but it was more specifically towards the way they, again, back to the practice when I told him was like when the church is telling you, or a church or whatever you want to, however you want to put it in terms, it's like, oh, you got to do this, you have to do this, It's almost like a parent that is like, and this is his analogy, and I get it. A parent who's like, don't do this, don't do that, and always on you, and like drilling whatever their purpose is to their children, it pushes them away sometimes, right? Like it's almost like, well, why? Or I'm gonna now go find out for myself why you don't want me to do X, Y, Z. So, it's almost like if the church was the parent and it just keeps drilling you to not do this.
Right.
But realistically, like I liked his point of view and I understood it, and I'm like, you know, and what he was what he was saying, which I agree with, is just try to be happy, right, and try to live righteous and just do the right thing when you can, and things will work itself out.
Yeah, bro. That's fact. And I think there's a lot of validity to what both of you guys said, which is, I think that's why what we spoke about last episode is so profound, which is to live what you speak. Because you're right, right? A lot of places like that will be like, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? But then you go and catch somebody from your church on a day that's not Sunday, and you're like, aren't you doing the thing that you told me not to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think, and that's not to point fingers at anybody, because listen, shit is hard, bro. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. We said it last episode. It's not easy. But that's why it's really important that before you just go and follow anybody, you need someone you can observe and be like, are they doing the things that they told me to do? Like we say all the time, would you take advice from somebody that doesn't follow their own? No. Because if they followed it, if they truly felt that was the path of success, they'd be doing it. And if they're not doing it, then why are they telling you to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because what are they trying to do? Are they just trying to control your actions and your emotions? Right? So that you keep coming back and keep giving them that tithe money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's a shame that that's sometimes how it is, but it's so important to live what you speak. And if you're in a place where people aren't living what they're speaking, and that's why, like you said, so many people have that distrust, because it's like, wait a minute. So these people are supposed to display the love of God, but they're judging me because this is what I'm wearing, but they don't even know that this is the best that I could afford right now. Or
Yeah.
because I'm driving this car, but they don't know what my situation is. No one
Yeah.
even asked me to figure out that I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I barely had enough gas to get here, but I came. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and so I think it's valid. Both sides are valid, right? It's like people, like you said, have those negative experiences and it pushes them away. And also when, it's like the church is maybe the parent, but what makes a good parent for a child? Like if my parents asked me to do something and I saw them doing something different, I'm going to question everything that they ever say to me. Because it's like,
Yeah.
you say this is good for me. Like you tell me, don't smoke, but then I see you smoking. So why is it okay for you, but not okay for me? I see you drinking. You tell me don't drink. Why? I'm not talking about my own parents, by the way. Just throwing that out there. One disclaimer, because I know my dad listens. But like that's how it is. Like you're not gonna respect anybody that's an authority of you telling you to do something if they're not living it themselves, right? You need the example. We always talk about all the time when it comes to leadership. People need a great leader is somebody that people can follow because they're the example. They're the pillar of consistency, right? And then when they make a mistake, they come up and own up to it. But it just sucks because you talk to so many people, and it's not that they never gave it a chance; it's because they gave it a chance and their trust was broken.
Yeah.
And that's
That's really well put, and I agree. It's like and just going off my personal experience of why I believe and why I have faith is just I've seen it with my own eyes. And it's hard for people who hasn't to grasp the idea that miracles are possible. So I get it, and I just hope that you know the ones that haven't had that opportunity, um, they get to experience that and
it.
find their
Yeah,
way.
bro. What is
Because God is
difficult?
good, man.
Yo, that's nothing but fact. And that's the thing, right? Like it's difficult. Like if you, and that's why people have testimonies, right? Because you see. That's why seeing is. I shouldn't seeing it. There's that saying, seeing is believing. Well, if you see it, you don't really have to believe it, right? It's fact at that point, right? Like if you tell me, "Hey, I can speak Spanish," and then you start speaking Spanish to me, it's a fact now. I don't have to. I don't. Right? I don't have to
That was
believe it.
not funny.
I don't have to believe it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's there. I can't dispute it. You speak Spanish. And so we have that saying that where really when you believe something, it's the fact that you have that conviction of things that you can't physically see. But that's what your faith is. Your faith is the substance of those things. It's the proof of the things that you can't see with your own eyes exist. And so I think then that's why we've done how many episodes? I don't know, close to 100. And we both believe in God, but we don't really speak about it. But it's not we're not pastors. That's not what we do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not our place to go and do it.
Yeah.
That's why you have pastors. Not everybody's meant to be one. But what you can do is you could be a witness of, like you said, God's goodness. And what does that mean? It's live your life in a way that when people see you, they're like, something's different about Quan. Why? What is it? And then at that point, you can be like, well, this is my foundation. This is how I found my success. And at that point, we're good money. But I'm not gonna just go around knocking on doors or screaming or yelling at people or be on the sidewalk with a boombox preaching, because that's not what I was called to do. I was called just to live the
Yeah.
life that was put before me and do it in the right way, and then let my life speak to where you feel like, wow, look at people knew us for a while. People have known us, right? And it's like, wow, they keep on advancing. Why? What's the formula? And at that point, let me
Yeah.
tell you what it is.
No, no, I mean, it's very well said and it's well put, right? But and I just want to. I forgot who I was talking to specifically, but I always try to relate, or whenever I deliver a message, I always try to relate it to my personal experience, or like myself. 'Cause that's all I like. For example, right? We're not pastors, so I won't pretend to be, and I'm not gonna. With some things like we talked about, like we're not as educated in something, so we're not gonna go into a whole thing about it, right? I could give you my opinion, or my perspective on something, but some things that I'm not well versed in, I'm not gonna sit there and have a huge debate with you about, because I know that I'm not educated enough to speak on some of the things that we may be talking about. And I appreciate the kind words, but even with advancements, right? Like, showing progression, I still make mistakes. Like I talked about last episode, like I'm going through stuff right now. I try not to display it, but not because I really care about what people think. More so, just this is how I'm handling it, right? So, you know, and I just try to learn from them as best as I can. I can't promise not to ever make the same mistake. I try hard not to. But I'm human, right? So like I can admit when I fuck up, or if I did something wrong, if I hurt someone, or I just made the wrong decision, or whatever the case may have been. But you know, again, I wake up thinking it's a new opportunity for me to be a better person or be a better version of myself than yesterday. And will it happen? I try, but that doesn't still mean that I won't make another mistake, or you know not live the righteous path that I really want to. I just have to try to keep building on myself, and whatever that may consist of, whether it's taking a moment and just praying, or just a moment to myself to evaluate the situation a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's real though, because here's the thing, man. Like we're all bound to make mistakes, right? We're not perfect, and like I said, it's difficult, bro. It's not easy. It's not easy, right? We're all human. We all got temptations. We all have faults. We all have hurts and pains from things that we haven't um allowed ourselves to resolve. Well, not I shouldn't say allowed ourselves, but we just haven't we haven't resolved what, either we're not ready to let it go, we're not ready to forgive. There's all kinds of different things it could be. But what separates it is the fact that you're willing to be like, yo, I made a mistake. Let me go apologize to the people that I hurt. Right?
Yeah,
That's what's real. or someone hurt me. Let me go tell them I forgive them instead of trying
Yeah.
to be prideful. Like let me be vulnerable in this, because that right there, that action is what's gonna speak louder than anything else. The fact that you're willing to be vulnerable and ask for forgiveness, or willing to forgive somebody when everybody would say you were right to be to harbor any kind of unforgiveness. For example, you just talking about you love the show. Talk about your dad. I know you're making the joke that he wasn't part of your life for 30 years, but how many people will hold resentment and bitterness to somebody that was supposed to be in their life and chose not to be? That's the difference, right? Not the fact that we don't make mistakes. We do, but it's how we handle them is what's different. We're gonna humble ourselves and ask for forgiveness, or we're gonna say, "Hey, we forgive you," or and we're not gonna make excuses about why we did something. And one thing that what I hate, and I'm not sure how you feel about it, where like, you know, if someone does something to you and they're like, instead of saying they apologize for what they did, like, "Oh, sorry that you feel that way." And it's like,
Mm.
you made me feel that way. Why are you saying sorry that I feel that? Like, I'm wrong for feeling the way that I
Yeah,
feel.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't control how somebody feels, but like that's like if you were a pond, right? And you was chilling and you're at peace. And I came and I threw a rock and made it ripple. It doesn't matter why you rippled, is the fact that I came and I disturbed your peace. I threw the rock. I shouldn't be like, "Well, you shouldn't have did it." Well, you shouldn't feel that way. Well, but you're the one who made the action that made me feel this way. So
Yeah.
regardless of if you feel I should feel this way or you feel I should be over something you did to me, we're not the people who determine that shit. It's like, yo, don't be like, "I'm sorry you feel that way." Like
So two
I
things.
hate that shit. I hate that
Two
shit.
things. One is I don't like your analogy. I feel like it was almost an attack on Asians and Bruce Lee because he had a
I didn't
similar
say a koi pond. I didn't say koi
he had a
pond.
similar quote with the ripple effect, right? And being like water. So I don't like that whole pond analogy. But
I didn't even
I
know
get what
that.
you're
That's
saying.
slick.
Yeah, he did. He did. If you listen to how Bruce Lee talked, bro, he was extremely like very well spoken. Very well spoken. But anyways, so that's one. Two is I completely agree with you. In fact, I tell people all the time, regardless if I felt I was in the wrong or the right, or regardless of whatever that is, how people feel is how they feel. And I have to respect that, regardless, because that's how they feel. Like, let me think of an example. All right, let's just say I walked into your house and I forgot to say hi to you, and you feel some type of way. But I was really just rushing to go to the bathroom because I had to pee or something. You're not wrong for feeling the way you do because that's how I made you feel. The point is communicating that, and then I could be like, "Yo, my bad. I didn't want to make you feel that way. I just really had to use the bathroom, right?" Just a that might be a poor example, but the point is like, no matter what, people are entitled to feel how they feel. I just
Right.
feel like we don't talk about it enough. Instead you'll be mad at me the rest of the night, and I'll be like, why is
He's
this
good?
guy not really talking to me like that? Like that's weird.
Right.
And then now I'm feeling some type of way because you're not talking to me, and I don't really know why. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, you let it off the
Um,
show with your dad. Like you, how are you supposed to know that he wanted you to call him for the Lunar New Year? You didn't know that, maybe one, that he even celebrated. Two, you didn't know it because you didn't grow up doing stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
I knew he
he
celebrated it. I'm not, but I didn't understand. I'll give you another example. So they opened up like a Vietnamese like spot around my house, and
Mhm.
I heard the fire was good, and I was like, let me just go in there. I didn't know if I was gonna get it or anything, but the lady was really really nice, and she had this like thick accent, and I was telling her about my dad and stuff, and then she said, "You didn't say Happy New Year," because I told her like I'm Vietnamese, and I was like, "Oh, I apologize." I was like, "I didn't know I should, and I didn't know like it was like a still thing." And she's like, "Yeah, you should always do that." And I was like, "All right, now I understand." And now I understand a little bit more why my dad might be feeling some type of way.
Right.
But I if I don't know, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, I mean,
even then,
right.
do I feel like my dad is wrong for feeling some type of way? No, because I respect that he feels that. I just didn't know that I was supposed to do what he thought, which was call him and wish him a happy new year, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. But that's the
Exactly.
part. That's the communication part. Like, let's talk about that. So now
Right.
next year, I don't forget to say it because I don't want any ripples in this pond.
Right. Or you
you
do it on
know,
purpose.
or I do it on purpose because that's what I do. Yeah,
Right. Right. Yeah, man.
yeah,
That's what's critical. And I think like once people, I shouldn't say once people, but like if you're once you experience that, like I forgot who was we were probably having this conversation one night. I feel like it was a group of us where I was like, man, it's for me, it's so difficult because I didn't realize how unique of a situation that I had. Oh, I shouldn't even say about how much of a blessing I had to be in a church where these were the things that I learned growing up from small. Like I was never judged going into my church, regardless of all. I mean, they saw me grow up from being a kid to being a
yeah,
parent.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's people that know me my entire life, and they know all the mistakes that I had. They see me make mistakes, things that happened outside, and not once did I ever feel like I was being judged for anything. Not once did anybody ever treat me different for anything. And so, but I didn't realize how rare of an experience that is until I started speaking to other people, and they're like, "Yeah, this is what happened to me." Blah blah. I'm like, "Damn!" Like it. It seems like my experience was the outlier, which hurts, and because it's like, damn, like
yeah,
I know what I've experienced, I know what I know, and I know the amount of comfort that it brings me, but also the amount of clarity that it brings me when it comes to making difficult decisions. Because I'm like,
mm,
there's only one way that's right, and it's gonna suck to go do it because it's difficult. I gotta eat my pride and go do XYZ thing and apologize. Even my own relationship. How many times I felt like I was right and I said something to my wife that I shouldn't have said that people would have justified me like, "Oh, you're right. You're right." Even you, all the times I'll call you, I'm like, "Yo, this just happened. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to," and you're like, "No, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that.
yeah,
Don't do that." Right?
yeah,
But and I'm like, "Damn," you know what I mean? Like I knew like from what I learned that was the right path. But even in that, even though I grew up in church, in that moment my emotions wanted to control me and say, "This is what's right."
yeah,
And she might not even blame me for doing it. Once things cooled off, she might not
yeah,
even
yeah,
blame me for doing what I did, right? But it doesn't mean that I was justified in doing it. And that's why, especially now I'm a parent, like I take it so seriously of like, what can I do to live a life that reflects, like you said, the goodness of God, what I've received,
yeah,
so that other people could be like, wow, so that's what it is. That's what it is. It's not because Matt's special. It's not because I have any more talent or ability than anybody else. Man, I'm just blessed.
yeah,
And you are too. It's just helping people kind of um work through the pain that they experience, and that's a difficult
yeah.
thing. That's a
I
difficult
agree.
thing.
I agree. A couple things is being in that environment of the church, right, and just being around positivity and just people who want to praise, and the message didn't come. I don't think the message came. Like I said, I don't think I received the message that I went there for from the individual, but I believe the message still got into me because I said to myself, I need to work on myself, right? Like mentally, physically, and spiritually. Like I feel like no matter what relationship I have with people, friendship, uh, uh a significant other, whatever the case may be, I have to build a better relationship with God to set that as the foundation for any relationship, like any kind of friendship, anything, right? So
Yeah.
like I almost envision myself of not preaching to people, but helping them with their relationship. with God. Not again, not overstepping. I'm not gonna be out there unless that's God's plan eventually, right? And it might come to fruition. Who knows? Because you know, I I've been told I like getting people's buy-ins and just
Sure.
the charisma and stuff that people tend to attach. Then so be it. I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do. I'm just saying if that's the calling, then that's the calling. But for me, right? Like I said, I think I said it on this episode where, well, I know I had told you personally. It was like I have to be selfish to some degree with my development of myself, and that's again mentally, physically, and spiritually. And the spiritual part didn't really come in until I was in this place. Like it really hit me. Like I really want that relationship with God and just being able to have that as a foundation, if that makes sense, right? And
Yeah.
again, when I'm not on here to preach. I'm just telling my personal experience of how I feel. Um, and I feel like if I do that, I will be the best Quan that I can be for myself and for others. So
Yeah.
that's what I have going for me. Like I don't. It's been very difficult for me to find time to read, even though I've been doing a lot better with my time management. So I've been doing audiobooks. That's been helping me because I've been having to drive a little bit more. So
Mm-hmm.
just some audiobooks, and everybody has their own way of learning, and that's just part of what I'm doing right now. I wanted to share that because I feel like in life in general, whether it's professional or at your job or personal at home, I feel like we should always. There's so much knowledge and so much things to learn in this world that we get complacent and we get
Right.
comfortable. We get comfortable in what we're doing,
Mm.
and it becomes that's the routine. The routine is doing what you know daily, right? And
Right.
not everybody, right? There's people that's growing and developing and doing all kinds of different things and learning yoga, learning whatever,
But is
learning
that
how
the
to cook.
majority? Is that the
It's not the
majority?
majority. Yes, very, very well. Yes. So, for those who are listening, if there's something you want to do, go do it.
Yeah.
Don't make an excuse. Get up off your
Yeah.
ass and go do it. Um, that's the hardest part, right? We talk about the hardest part about working out is getting there.
Yep. Day one.
Yeah. So,
Day one through
um,
5, man.
and why limit yourself? Why limit yourself? Especially we talk. It's funny because we talked about the internet. Oh, we talked about the internet and how damaging it could be, and but realistically, there's also I guess it's how you use it because there's a lot of different ways where you can educate yourself or learn something that you might
Right.
not know based off the
Wealth of
internet.
knowledge. Well,
Yeah,
I'll say this too, like, because you said it, people getting comfortable. You know, comfort, the way I view it is comfort's okay in spots, right? Like, I want my bed to be comfortable, right? I want my house to be comfortable. But there's things where you need to be intentional with making yourself
intentional.
uncomfortable. Intentional
Bro.
discomfort
I
needs to
love
be
that.
needs to be needs to be something that you implement. And I'll let you cook. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. No. I'm not cutting you off. But
No,
that
you got
word,
something you want
right?
to cook. Cook,
That
man.
word's been
Cook.
coming up a lot lately in a lot of the conversations I've been having with people who's successful, people who's growing daily. That word comes up all the time, which is intentional. Right? It's and learning, and you can learn whatever you want, but if you're more intentional with what you learn, the more you can apply it, depending on what you want to do. So I love that you said that because, right? For example, I can say, "Oh, I took XYZ trainings or I took XYZ classes to learn XYZ," but it's not even related to anything that I want to pursue or do. Then what's the purpose? To say I did it? Which is, I guess that's okay, but if you have intent behind it and you learned XYZ, now you can apply it to whatever you're going for, whatever goal you want to achieve.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
love that you brought that up, man.
Exactly. You know, I said it on, I think I said it on the pod before, because especially on the episodes where we talked about therapy, and I said that like church is my therapy. That's a place of intentional discomfort for me. You know, we have a saying at my church: if there's no fire underneath your seat, well, you better think twice about where you're at, because that's the purpose of it, right? It's a mirror. Am I doing what I'm being? Am I doing what I'm hearing, or am I just doing my Sunday thing? Right, tying it back to what we're talking. Am I just doing my Sunday thing to make myself feel better, and then Monday through Saturday I'm back on my same bullshit, or am I
Yeah,
being intentional about going, making sure I'm hearing what I'm hearing, and then trying to apply what I'm hearing? I'm not saying I'm gonna do it perfectly, but am I trying to apply what I'm doing? Right? That's that's the intentional discomfort I'm talking about. From a work perspective, like you said, if I'm going and learning, am I just learning to amass knowledge to make myself feel better, to put it on a resume, to go gloat to my
yeah.
coworkers, to be like, oh, I learned this thing over the weekend. Awesome. And then we never see it show up in your job. So what's the
Yeah,
point if you go ahead and learning it? Or are you learning something that's going to make you a better leader, or a better teammate,
yeah,
or a better
yes,
representative, or whatever
yes,
kind of work you do? Uh, and then how are you going to apply it? And then
yeah,
tying back to what you said last episode about accountability, what are the accountability measures and what I'm learning? Because you got to know what it looks like when you've applied that thing that you just learned. What's the outcome you're looking for, right? I've always told people, I went to college, right? Graduated it last year. And I felt that the purpose of my college degree was two things. One, it showed that I was dedicated to whatever to what I have to do. So I had to show up and do my work. It proved that I can show up and do the work required of me to get this. But two, what it showed is that I don't know everything about the stuff in my field, but I know enough where if I go and do a problem and the result that I get from it is nowhere close to what I was expecting, then there's something wrong. That's what it taught me, right? Not that I know all the answers, but if I punch something in my calculator and I'm expecting 1,000 and I get 100,000, I did something wrong somewhere. Either my expectation was wrong or my math was wrong. That's what knowledge, and that's what applying knowledge should look like, is that I should have some kind of insight of my accountability measures to be like, hey, this is what it looks like when I've done it right. If I'm not after it, this is what I'm going to do to remedy that. And am I here or am I not? And that's it. And that's it. But that takes intentional discomfort, because you're gonna hit a wall, you're gonna face it, and you're gonna be like, all right, what do I do? Do I take the easy path, the comfortable path, and quit, or do I take the uncomfortable path and try to find a way around, or sometimes through the wall that I'm facing? And that's fact.
you gotta insert the clap right there, bro. That's real.
Nah, man, I ain't gonna
No, you
gas
gotta insert
myself.
the clap. Nah, insert the
I'm not
clap,
gonna.
please. Insert the
Now this guy
clap for
wants me
me.
to insert
Well, I don't feel like
STDs.
clapping, so just
Insert STDs is crazy. That's
yeah,
so
that's
crazy.
wild. Nah, now you're
That's
bugging.
crazy.
Now you're bugging. So now, I love that you said that. Right. So I'm a mentor for someone, and she has a big project that she has to present coming up, and she's nervous and she's a little on edge, which is that's normal, right? Because you're presenting and you have to talk about yourself, what you learned, and if you're not doing that daily, you're just naturally going to be a little nervous because you're going to be uncomfortable. But I was telling her, like, dude, you've done it. You're already done it. All you have to do is speak on what you've done. And to be honest with you, it's not even about the success. It's about how you overcame the adversity more than anything. Because anybody can handle, most people handle success well, right? Like you get rewarded, you get recognized, etc. But it's the people that handle adversity that's really I want to hear your story, because people can't handle adversity the same way they handle success, and I think it tells more of someone's character on how they handle adversity, right? I think that's why
All facts.
I love when I go to interviews or when I talk about the adversity I had to overcome with different situations, whether it's professional or personal. I love talking about the adversity pieces more than saying, "Oh, I'm good at this" or "I'm great at doing that." Or,
Yep.
I got
Yep.
this award. I'd rather talk
Yep.
about, yo, it was challenging. But it didn't defeat me.
Bang. That's it. Mike Breen. I need that clip. Bang.
Yeah. We need that.
But no, bro, that is so on point because whenever so the church I go to Wednesday nights, we do testimonies, and those testimonies like that, those are the impactful ones because you could relate to shit like that.
Yes.
Where I'm like, bro, you're in the mud. You're in the mud. We all walk through the mud at points in our lives. It's very rare that we're walking on dry ground and it's easy. Majority of the time, we're in mud. And it just depends on how deep the mud is, really, to be honest with you. And how hard you gotta work to get out. But every time I'm in an interview, I'm on a panel, or I'm the interviewee. Anytime they ask a question about adversity, if I'm the one that's asking the question, I'm leaning in. And if I'm being asked a question, the interviewers are leaning in because that's the shit they want to hear. Are you a problem solver or are you a problem causer? You're either one or the other. What are you doing? You gonna fight or you gonna run? What did you do? I want to know about that. Because to your point, that's a skill that could be applied anywhere. You got the resilience, you got the grit. You welcome that. You welcome the adversity. Like, all right, that's light. Because you know what? I know I could do it. I did it before.
Yeah.
Sure, this building might be 20 flights of stairs and the other one was 10, but 20 is just 10 times 2. You just gotta do it twice.
Yeah.
Break down that goal into manageable pieces like we talked about last episode. If you ain't listen, go listen. That's what it's all about. So I agree with you 100%. Talking about adversity gets me fired up than talking about success because we talked about last episode again. Behaviors drive results, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Show me your work. Show me your work, and I'll tell you how good you are.
Yeah.
Don't show me the numbers. Anybody could get numbers.
Yeah.
You got 10,000 steps. That's light. You can get the
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
You only got 50 on 10,000 steps. Oh, there's a problem.
Yeah.
You think 50 was good. You think 50 was good. Let me show you get someone who got 50 on 3,000 steps.
Yeah.
And they did that shit light. You think you a boss? Let me show you who's a boss. I agree with you.
Yo, so I was asked this question recently. I wasn't asked a question. I was told, think of some of the things that I'm great at and highlight it. And some people,
nothing.
Yeah, it was like I can't think of it. I couldn't think of anything I was great at. Like it was in the professional world, so I could talk about like potting. I feel like I'm great at potting.
Potting, selecting whiskey, playing dominoes,
so
shit talking.
Yeah, but realistically, right? So it's funny you say that because now I think about multiple people who told me I'm like a Renaissance man, like I'm just great at multiple things, right? And whether it was
who said that? Your mom? No, actually, she would never say that. She would never say that.
No, she wouldn't give me those flowers.
If your mom said that shit would be crazy.
Yeah,
actually,
that's my goal. Having my mom say that. But like people told me that before. Whether it was dominoes, poker, card, basketball, different things, right? That I excelled in. And then when I was thinking about professionally, it's like it was difficult to come up with things. And I was like, it was humbling, but at the same time, I'm like, I know that I'm great at things, right? Like I know that I am. I wouldn't be in a position I am if I wasn't. But it's like leadership skills. So I'm like, all right, but how does that translate? Like how can I really like put that into like words other than, I get people's buy-ins, I'm genuine, I have real conversations. And all I kept thinking about is how resilient I am. And it made me think about this story because you said resilience. And I'm not one to quit or give up, right? And I'm one to find the resources necessary when I'm not great at something so I can be better and improve myself. So I say that because I have to work on that, and it's something that I'm like, it's part of what I'm working on now is pretty much being able to explain what I'm good at or great at.
You just said it.
And instead of me thinking about it, I've been asking a lot of people for feedback. Like, hey, when you think about me and what I do, is what brings to mind? Like, what do you think I'm great at? What do you think I need to work on?
Asshole, jerk.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Top villain.
top
Infamous.
villain. Yeah, you just described the things, right? As resilient, resourceful, communicator. I know like leader encapsulates a lot of different things, right? Because we all have our idea of what the ideal leader is. But like you just said a couple of the things right there, and I would agree with some of those things. But I think it's difficult for a lot of people
Yeah.
to do that.
That's why
Not
like
that you suck at everything, but you know that you describe some of the things.
My end of year feedback, obviously they give you positives, they give you opportunities. But I love the opportunities piece because I needed to hear it so I know I could grow. Exactly, right? And to be honest, it wasn't a surprise to me because I'm pretty self-aware. So it's like,
there you go. There's another one. Add to your list. I hope you got a notepad somewhere.
Yeah, I should be writing this down, man. I'm already done with my project now.
There you go. You just like, yo, go listen to the pod. Go listen to the pod. You'll find my goals there.
Yeah.
Why make me do double the
go
work?
Listen to the pod, subscribe, share. That's it.
And just skip all the parts where you hear this guy Matt talking.
Nah,
and you're good.
You drop gems. You definitely be dropping gems. I'm gonna hit up my guy and see if he wants to be a part of this and he could promote his pod that we talked about.
Yeah,
the Gems podcast, because he drops a lot of knowledge, and I think that
I see something about fathers, the importance of fatherhood and fathers being part. That's the same guy, I'm pretty sure. Which I thought was super
because I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that our social media page wasn't following him until he he hit me up like, yo, I subscribed and all that, and I was like, yo, I appreciate that. But I didn't realize we wasn't following him back on the social media page, so I followed him back. So it probably popped up when he was on that page.
Yep, that makes sense.
But yeah, he drops a lot of knowledge, and I think that anytime that we can share that and spread the love, then that's what we're gonna do, because that's what we're about.
Yeah, let's get him on. And I love, like you said, talking about the difficulties and everything. And that's why whenever we have guests on the show, of course, we know that people have accomplished great things. Like when you had Alan and Cassius on the show, like they've done a lot of awesome things. But it didn't come with without the adversity, without the struggles.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they would be like, those are the things that help shape us to what we are. And so in the moment, you're not really grateful or thankful for the valleys, right? It's like, yeah, this shit sucks. But when you come out of it, you're like, yo, without that, I wouldn't have been there. Like you brought it up about how you're grateful for the opportunities in your feedback, because that means there's room for growth. You don't ever want to be at a place where you're like, yo, I can't grow here. And I'll share an experience. You know it, right? When I didn't get a job I applied for, and the feedback that I got had nothing to do with growth. There was nothing I could have done better.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, you go to church too much, right? And I'm not gonna get any more into that and anything.
Yeah, that was wild.
I even have people saying, hey, you should go to HR. I'm like, and what that's gonna do? I'm not gonna get the job. I'm gonna have other people lose their job. What does that benefit anybody?
Yeah, that was wild behavior.
But what that did was, number one, and again, I always, God puts people in your life. I had my then manager at the time was like, yo, let's not dwell on this shit. Like, it is what it is. It's not right, but what are you going to do about it at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on what you can do. And what that did was completely change my whole career trajectory.
Oh, for sure.
And life trajectory. I know God always had a plan, but it changed everything. The way I view at things, it really made me take a step back and say, is this what I want? Or is this what I'm doing because it's the next step and what I'm supposed to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
But it was an uncomfortable situation. I had to be intentionally uncomfortable to have that conversation with my trusted peers, mentors, leaders, myself, my family members, my wife. Like, is this what I really want to be doing? And the answer was no. And that was a difficult thing to come to, because I spent so many years, I made career moves because that's what I was going for.
Yeah.
But it told me, like, yo, why didn't you have this conversation with yourself and others sooner?
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that? You just made an assumption that you wanted to, because you were avoiding the uncomfortable situation. I was just kicking the can down the road. That's all I was doing. I had little feelings and inklings, especially when I moved from where I was to the middle of fucking nowhere in North Windham. I had a lot of situations. I'm like, yo, is this even what I want to be doing? But it was an uncomfortable situation, so I avoided it, and I avoided it. And so it was like, yo, you can't avoid it anymore. That was the best thing from a career standpoint to ever happen to me, because it
Absolutely.
forced my hand.
And
to be like,
personally, because like you said, you know, you and Nona moving the boys out there and putting yourself in the position you're in has been a blessing, right? So, no, that's real. That's real. Oh, you mentioned A. I want to do a toast to A. It's A's birthday.
woo, happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday to A. And you mentioned A with the adversity. That's actually A's company, which is Positive Adversity, which is where he's helping the community and some of the underprivileged kids. So
Pack
shout out to A for
drives,
that, man.
school supplies, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
Big time.
mentorship. You got Gmo doing mentorship. You know, shout out to all them for that, man. I just I told like I text A like, yo, happy birthday. And I remember telling A like, yo, I'm gonna use that. That positive adversity is what it's all about. And he's like, go for it, man. Like that's just what life is. So
He should incorporate that intentional uncomfortability, positive adversity, because that's what it is.
yeah, we gotta get A back on the show, anyways. He's a funny guy, bro.
That's what it is, though. That's what it is. I love that positive adversity shit, because it, in the long run, is gonna be positive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we always, like, gold needs to go through fire to be what people wear and what people rock. You get what I'm saying? Diamonds are created under pressure. You need that shit. And of course, it's uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, it's going to be positive. As long as you obviously you do the right things with it. You know, you got to do the right things with it. You got to be responsible. That's the way I view it. I mean, 100% of bad situations has something to do with me putting myself in that situation. I fucked up somewhere, but now it's like, all right, this is how I've been taught to respond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or if somebody does me wrong, I can't focus on their wrong. I got to focus on how I'm going to respond.
Yeah.
Am I going to respond the right way? And that's the same thing with the adversity. I can't focus on the adversity. I got to focus on how am I going to respond to the adversity.
Yeah.
So then it becomes positive, because now this is, like you said, this is what I overcame.
Yeah.
This is what I overcame.
And you said something a little earlier that I wanted to respond to, but I didn't want to cut you off, which is, you know, reacting with emotion. It's so easy. It's probably the easiest thing we do as humans because we're all emotional to some degree. And when you act out of emotion, most times it's probably not the best decision because you're not thinking clear. You're just reacting, which it happens. But when you can start analyzing situations before reacting with emotion, you'll realize that you can get a lot further along, whether it's someone who did you dirty, whether it's somebody who did you wrong, whether it's somebody who responded in a way that you didn't expect them to respond. Regardless of what it is, you take that emotion out of it and think clearer. Usually you'll have a better outcome.
That's such a gem, bro. But man, what a show. And I love the fact, again, I want to give you your flowers. The fact that you said that you was going to go ahead and attend this service, and you went ahead and did it. And the fact that you weren't discouraged by all the stuff that happened, right? The parking, being in the overflow room, your mom maybe complaining more than you would probably like. And the fact that you were still able to take away something from that, that's huge. That's huge, because a lot of people would have been like, you know what? Maybe it just wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works. You make an effort to go seek God, He's going to meet you right where you are. Trust. Always. He's going to meet you. He got something for you. He ain't going to leave empty-handed.
I appreciate that, yeah.
That's big ups, bro. That's all you got to say, all right? I think the show's over.
No, I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm pretty much done talking with that. I think we need some likes, comments, and shares. So make sure y'all hit that button.
You heard the man.
It's not that difficult. Hit that button right here, right here, right here. You're good to go.
Bro, you just made it a logistical nightmare to make sure that you're pointing in the right spot. But, you know, if I can't figure it out, I might end up clipping it, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody for tuning in. The love has been incredible. The support has been incredible. And we're going to keep going. We committed to 40 episodes. The pace is crazy. The pace is crazy right now. We're on pace for 52. No, 51.
Well,
51.
Commitment.
We're on pace for 51.
Commitment.
So this is what we do. And as always, think critically, speak infamously.
We out.